Most people think the future of AI is controlled by companies like OpenAI, Google, or Tesla. But what if I told you that behind nearly every breakthrough, every chatbot, every self-driving car, every AI model generating billions of dollars, there's one company quietly powering all of it? And no, it's not a software giant. It's a chip maker that started by designing graphics cards for video games. This is the untold story of how NVIDIA became the single most important company in the AI revolution and why the entire tech world now depends on its hardware to survive. Welcome to the Algorithm Archive. If you've used any AI system recently, there's a near certainty that NVIDIA hardware was behind it. When OpenAI trains a frontier model like GPT-4 or GPT-5, they do it using tens of thousands of NVIDIA GPUs engineered to handle millions of simultaneous operations. Meta's Llama models, which have become the foundation for open-source AI, are trained using NVIDIA hardware. Tesla's autonomous driving network, one of the most advanced vision systems in the world, relies on NVIDIA GPUs to process billions of real-world driving frames. Even companies with their own custom chips, Google with TPUs, Amazon with Trainium, still buy NVIDIA GPUs because they cannot risk falling behind in performance. NVIDIA has become so foundational to AI progress that many researchers joke that the real bottleneck for global innovation isn't algorithms, it's how many NVIDIA chips a company can get its hands on. What makes this even more astonishing is that NVIDIA never set out to dominate. Their technology was originally built for video games. Yet the parallel computing architecture that made graphics realistic also turned out to be perfect for neural networks. As AI models grew bigger and more complex, companies realized NVIDIA wasn't just an option, it was a necessity. Without them, the AI boom would have been delayed by years. And for most people, this massive influence remains invisible. NVIDIA's story begins in 1993, long before words like deep learning or neural networks meant anything to the public. Back then, the world cared about one thing: better graphics for video games. Gaming was exploding, but computers struggled to render smooth, lifelike 3D environments. NVIDIA was founded to solve that problem. Their goal wasn't to build AI chips, it was to build graphics processors that could handle thousands of operations simultaneously. This approach, known as parallel computing, allowed GPUs to process multiple tasks at once, unlike CPUs which process tasks one at a time. NVIDIA spent years refining this hardware, fighting for survival against giants like Intel and ATI. Then in 2006, they released something that changed computing forever: CUDA. This programming toolkit let developers use NVIDIA GPUs not just for graphics, but for scientific and mathematical computation. Suddenly, researchers discovered that NVIDIA GPUs were perfect for training the early AI models powering image recognition and deep learning. It wasn't just faster, it was dozens of times faster. Without planning to, NVIDIA had created the perfect foundation for modern AI. While the world still saw them as a gaming company, AI researchers had quietly adopted them as the industry standard. NVIDIA's rise wasn't luck, it was architecture. Their GPUs weren't just faster. They were supported by a software ecosystem that no competitor has ever replicated. CUDA became the secret weapon that locked entire industries into NVIDIA hardware. Once a company began writing their AI models using CUDA, switching to another chip meant rewriting millions of lines of code. That lock-in created a powerful moat, but the true advantage came from performance. NVIDIA's chips excel at parallel workload distribution, allowing them to handle the immense computational demands of training large language models and vision systems. Competitors like AMD and Google have attempted alternatives, but none offer the combination of speed, stability, ecosystem, developer familiarity, and optimization tools that NVIDIA spent decades perfecting. Their GPUs evolved into a platform and environment where hardware, software, drivers, compilers, and AI frameworks all worked seamlessly. This made NVIDIA indispensable to everyone from startups to Fortune 100 companies. The more AI grew, the more entrenched NVIDIA became. By the early 2020s, AI demand skyrocketed. Tech giants realized something shocking: you couldn't launch competitive AI products without enormous GPU clusters, and NVIDIA was the only company that could supply them at scale. So began a global arms race. Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and Meta started ordering NVIDIA GPUs by the tens of thousands. Entire data centers were redesigned just to house NVIDIA hardware, with specialized cooling systems and massive electrical infrastructure. The speed at which AI companies could innovate was now directly tied to how many NVIDIA GPUs they could acquire. In fact, scarcity became so extreme that some companies had to delay product launches because they couldn't secure enough GPUs. NVIDIA's chips had become a form of digital gold. If a company wanted to train a frontier model something rivaling GPT-4, Llama, Claude, or Gemini, NVIDIA was the first phone call. And the more the world relied on AI, the more indispensable NVIDIA became. Before we dive into how NVIDIA quietly built one of the most powerful monopolies in technology, this is a good time to pause for a moment. If you're enjoying this breakdown and want more deep dive, documentary-style explainers on the companies shaping artificial intelligence, consider supporting the channel. Hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss new uploads. It genuinely helps the algorithm archive reach more viewers who want thoughtful and well-researched tech analysis, not shallow clickbait. This channel is all about explaining the hidden systems behind our modern world, and your engagement lets us keep producing more of these long-form videos. Alright, let's get back to NVIDIA and the empire they built behind the scenes of the AI revolution. By 2024 to 2025, NVIDIA controlled an estimated 70 to 90% of the world's AI computing market, numbers that are almost unheard of in modern tech. But this wasn't just hardware dominance, it was influence. Governments began tracking GPU supply chains the same way they track oil and critical minerals. Companies obsessed over securing NVIDIA chips because the success of their AI projects depended on them. Even megacorporations with their own chip divisions, Google with TPUs, Amazon with Trainium, Meta with custom accelerators, still purchased NVIDIA hardware because they couldn't risk falling behind. The company had become a global dependency, the computational backbone of AI progress. Every leap in generative AI, robotics, drug discovery, or synthetic media only increased demand. It reached a point where NVIDIA wasn't just selling chips, they were setting the pace of innovation worldwide. Whoever had the most GPUs had the advantage, and NVIDIA controlled the supply. While most people still associate NVIDIA with gaming and AI chips, the company is already expanding into domains that could reshape entire industries. Their Omniverse platform is creating hyper-accurate digital twins of factories, cities, and even global climate systems. Companies like BMW and Amazon use these simulations to optimize logistics, test robots, and design assembly lines before building anything in the real world. NVIDIA's robotics platform enables machines to learn through simulation before touching physical objects, making training safer, faster, and cheaper. In automotive, NVIDIA supplies the AI brain powering next-generation autonomous vehicles. In healthcare, their GPUs accelerate drug discovery and medical imaging. And in the industrial sector, NVIDIA aims to become the computing foundation for automated manufacturing. CEO Jensen Huang describes this era as the next industrial revolution. And if he's right, NVIDIA won't just power AI models, they'll power entire digital societies. That is, NVIDIA's rise is a reminder that the companies shaping the future aren't always the ones everyone notices. While tech giants compete for public attention with flashy AI products, NVIDIA built the infrastructure quietly, consistently, and relentlessly. They didn't just benefit from the AI revolution, they enabled it. Their chips power our cars, our phones, our medical labs, our entertainment, and soon, our factories and physical world. And as AI becomes woven deeper into global industries, NVIDIA's importance will only grow. The story of NVIDIA is more than the story of a company, it's the story of how the backbone of modern intelligence was built, piece by piece, chip by chip. Thanks for watching this deep dive. If you'd like to see more breakdowns like this one, stay with the algorithm archive. The future has a lot more to reveal.